Hey guys, I hope you're all doing well. Today's video is something a little bit different. I came across some old paint. It's not really that old. It is vintage though, from probably the early 1970s. I really couldn't find a ton of information on this specific watercolor paint palette, but it was created by Benny and Smith, who own the Crayola company. And as you guys know, Crayola is one of my absolute favorite, like, affordable art supply companies. Before we get into the testing and the comparison to the newer Crayola paint palette set, I have some very exciting news to share with you guys. I am moving next month, and I am officially a first-time homeowner. I own a home. Craig and I, my fiance, we just closed on our house a few days ago, and it's one of the most exciting things that has ever happened to me. I cannot wait to get moved in and start brand new series, home renovation and room makeovers, house tour, dollar store DIY projects, and a pinky promise that I've been keeping up with the vlogs. Here, come on in for the pinky promise. A new vlog is coming soon. I have been documenting like my moving process. We have to like patch the walls and stuff, not too interesting. I recently went on a ski trip, so there's gonna be footage from the GoPro. This was a spur of the moment video idea. I saw these in the basement during the final walkthrough at the house before signing the closing papers. The previous owner still has a few weeks to get all the stuff out of the house and sell things, whatever they want to do with it, and that's totally fine with us because our lease isn't up for this apartment until the 14th of next month, so it works out perfectly. Basically, I saw these in the basement and I asked the owner, you know, can I please buy these off of you? And I actually was given them as a gift. I tried to do research on the Peacock watercolor paint sets, and the most that I could find is that it was created in 1971, but there's a couple different packaging fronts for this set, and there's also a 16 count instead of an 8. I find that it's interesting this one doesn't have a price tag on it, like a printed price, I mean, on the plastic container. When I first saw these, I thought that they were older. These are around my mom's age, so I was hoping that they would be from maybe the 50s instead of the 70s, but I am not disappointed at all. This is gonna be the oldest paint that I've ever tried, I think, so I'm excited. And it seems like it has the original paintbrush, but I could be completely wrong. It does look old. It says that this paintbrush was created in the Dominican Republic. That's pretty cool. I don't really see things made there nowadays. For being possibly 46 years old, it doesn't look like they have a lot of wear and tear going on. Whoever owned these took very good care of them and maybe got bored with them. Hey, one person's trash is another's treasure. So I'm gonna be comparing them to another Crayola watercolor set. This one has 16, but I'll just use the colors that correspond to this one. I could almost swear that I bought this a year or two ago, but it's saying copyright 2014. That doesn't necessarily mean that it was created that year, but I didn't think I had them for that long. I don't think I did. Both sets were made in the USA. They're both non-toxic, which is great. The newer Crayola paint set, the paint looks way more shiny in the palette than the old one. These look a little bit more dull and chalky. Okay, let's try them. I'm such a geek. Watercolor paper, check. Water, also check. Here goes. I just want to do my first impression and then I will zoom in super up close for you all. The brush is a lot softer than I thought. All right, let's go with blue. I'm gonna go with blue. Ooh, it seems pretty pigmented. Let's see. Here we go. Ooh, not bad. Not bad at all. The new Crayola paint set does not have a dark blue. It's like a cerulean almost. I feel like the old watercolors are better quality. What? This set has 8 different colors. The primary ones, secondary ones, brown and black. When I started testing the new Crayola paints, I noticed right away that the red is a lot more vibrant. So for the most part, the newer Crayola colors are more pigmented than the old ones, but you will notice that some of the shades are really different, especially the blue, brown, and black. To be frank, the new black is terrible. Look at this, it's hardly pigmented at all. That's probably the only exception to them being more pigmented is the black. Definitely not as bold and vivid. And it looks more brown than black, so I am disappointed with that one. Definitely would choose the 1970s black, hands down. Also, the 1970s brown kind of resembles an Idaho potato, whereas the new one is kind of more sweet potato or maybe chocolate bar. Something I noticed is the newer paints take a lot longer to dry. Whether or not you think that's a good thing kind of depends on the way that you blend, if you like to blend with more water or less. So here I'm going to show you how I blended from red to orange, starting with the old 1970s set. So here I'm blending the newer paints, and you can see I'm using way too much water. I tried to use the same amount of water that I used with the older paints, and it's definitely not a good idea to do that because you just kind of end up with a big blob in the center. So I did end up dabbing a little bit away with a paper towel, and it turned into this. The older one has this weird kind of crackly effect going on. It's actually cool, but if it's not exactly the look you're going for, then it might be a negative. Also, after doing this blending test, I noticed that the old paints seem to be a lot more vibrant in this than the initial kind of swatching that I did. So I'm going to test some buildability to see if the older paints will get more bright and vibrant if I go over them another time. Oh wow, definitely yes. You can tell that this orange is getting a lot more bright, bold, and vivid, and it's not really taking a lot of effort to do so. The same with the yellow and the red. Also, remember I said the newer paints look more shiny in the palette? Well, it's really weird going over this with a second coat because it feels kind of waxy, and you can see that there's some areas where the paint is resisting the bottom layer. It's really strange. The final element of this great paint comparison is to create twin watercolor paintings. I knew I wanted to paint a landscape, but I needed some guidance, so I turned to Lindsay's channel, who is TheFrugalCrafter here on YouTube. Check her out if you haven't heard of her and you want to learn more really awesome painting and art techniques. She is very knowledgeable. Creating clouds is a lot easier if you use the tissue dabbing method, which I am showing here. Then, as you can see, I went in with a tiny mountain range and I tried to shade the top of it. You will see later on in this that I should have probably made the top mountain range a little bit darker even and gotten rid of most of the blue. Oh, and I didn't even mention yet which is which. If you were unsure, the top one is the vintage set and the bottom one is the newer. Another kind of interesting thing I found is that when mixing the newer paints, they bubble, and with the older set, that really doesn't happen, only a couple little bubbles. If you have been enjoying this video and you want to show my channel a little bit of support, please click the thumbs up button, and also if you want to see more of my videos in the future, subscribe by pressing that red button below. Now, as you can see, I'm finished with the grass in the meadow, so I'm moving on to the pine trees, which were the most difficult for me, but once I did get the hang of them, it wasn't as bad as I thought. I was kind of nervous going into this that I would mess it up at this point, but after adding a little bit of the texture with a darker shade of the green, I think it turned out pretty well. But you will notice that I skipped out on the biggest pine trees, which I really like in Lindsay's painting, but hers is a lot bigger than mine, and she obviously has more practice, so I didn't want to mess it up. So after doing the pine trees, I skipped to some tall, weedy looking grass and red flowers in the field, and that is it. Now I am removing the tape after it's all dry, and here's what they look like. So what's the bottom line? Which paint do I think wins? I'm gonna go with 1970s. I feel that it's a little bit smoother, the colors are just as vivid, and I really like that there's a true blue, a more like potatoey brown, and an actual black. Okay, so maybe I don't have a ton of watercolor experience, but personally for me, I feel that the newer paints, since they do stay so wet for so long, they're actually harder to blend because they kind of just go all over and flow into each other more than I want them to. So maybe that's a personal issue, but I'm sure that there's some painters out there who would agree with me. Let me know if you prefer the vintage on top or the new on the bottom. I'd like to make this a new series on my channel, vintage versus new. I don't know if that's really catchy, so if you have name suggestions, leave them in the comment section below, please. Also, let me know what art or craft supplies you would like to see me test from old times. Maybe acrylic paint, crayons, markers, as long as, you know, they're not like $200 for a pack on eBay because I just bought a house. I can't go crazy with the, like, really expensive things unless my views go way up. So hey, share this with your friends and I'll do really cool stuff. I hope you guys have a great rest of the day and I'll see you in my next video. Bye!